Okay, let's dive right into episode 2 of The Defects. And wow, this episode does not waste any time. From the first minute, it grabs you by the throat and says, "You're not ready for this." And honestly, I wasn't. I mean, episode 1 was dark, but episode 2? This is a whole different level of disturbing. We open with a flashback of Somi. And at first, you're thinking, oh, maybe this is going to be a sweet memory, something hopeful. Wrong. Dead wrong. This isn't about sunshine and rainbows. This is about a dream that gets ripped apart in the cruelest way possible. Somi wanted to be an idol. She had that bright, starry-eyed ambition that so many kids have, and for a moment you almost feel like you can see her standing on a stage, smiling, singing under the lights. But reality? Reality is a monster here. Her adoptive mom? Absolute nightmare. Instead of supporting her dream, she crushed it, like it was nothing, like Somi's feelings didn't matter at all. And I'm sitting here fuming like, what kind of person does that? But then we meet the real monster in her life, her adoptive father. And this part made me sick to my stomach. He's not just abusive. No, he's a predator with a terrifying twist. Hypnosis. Yeah, you heard me. Hypnosis. The guy uses it to control her, manipulate her, and yeah, I can't even finish that sentence without feeling disgusted. I literally had to pause for a second and take a breath because that level of control is horrifying. It's not just physical abuse, it's psychological warfare. And the way the show frames this, it's chilling. You see that broken look in Somi's eyes, and it hits you. This girl never stood a chance. She was trapped in a cage she couldn't even see. And now, knowing this backstory, suddenly, every defensive wall she has, every cold stare, every moment of distance, it all makes sense. It's not attitude, it's survival. And here's the thing. I love how the show makes you feel that pain without being overly graphic. It's implied, and that almost makes it worse because your brain fills in the blanks. And the fact that this happened to a kid who just wanted to sing, God, it's heartbreaking. So yeah, I started this episode angry. Angry at the system. Angry at people who exploit innocence. And angry because you just know there are real Somas out there in the world. Cut to Ah-hyeon. Now this girl, she's on a whole mission of her own, and I love her for it. She decides to snoop into Tae-sik's locker. And I'm like, girl, be careful. Curiosity kills the cat, remember? But nope, she's determined, and honestly, I'm here for it. So she cracks it open, and what she finds? Oh boy, it's like opening Pandora's box. There's a list. Names of parents. And at first you're like, okay, maybe these are the people who adopted the kids. But then you start hearing these recordings. And these aren't loving parents calling to check on their kids. Nope. These are cold, soulless conversations about returning the kids. Like they're defective products. Like they're not even human. And I swear, my blood pressure spiked in that moment. Who does that? Who treats a child like a piece of merchandise you can just return when it doesn't fit your lifestyle? It's infuriating. Absolutely disgusting. And the show doesn't hold back in making you hate these people. It's so realistic it hurts. Then, as Ah-hyeon keeps digging, she finds something else. A letter from Tae-sik. And suddenly the man we weren't sure about, the one who seemed shady, now he's confessing. He admits he didn't know the full extent of the evil he was part of. That he regrets it. That saving these kids now? It's his way of making things right. And this hit me hard because it's complicated, isn't it? Like, how do you redeem yourself after being complicit in something so vile? Can you? Honestly, I don't know. But at least he's trying. At least he's risking everything to save these kids now. And that counts for something, right? Just as you're processing all this, bam! Chaos! Out of nowhere, their safe haven gets attacked. And when I say attacked, I mean full-blown explosion, fire, people screaming. It's a nightmare unfolding in real time. And I swear, my heart was pounding like crazy. You can almost smell the smoke, feel the heat, hear the chaos. And the cinematography? Chef's kiss. It makes you feel like you're right there with them, scrambling to survive. And I couldn't help but think, how do these kids even keep going? They've been through hell, and now hell just found them again. Thankfully, Tae-sik had a plan. He's like that one adult you want in your corner when the world goes to hell. He had a boat ready, a literal escape plan. And for a second, you breathe. You think, okay, maybe they'll make it. But this is the defects. There's no such thing as easy, because as soon as you start to feel safe, nope. danger follows them like a shadow. And then comes one of my favorite moments of the episode, Ah-hyeon versus Jung-hyeon. Let me tell you, I was on the edge of my seat. Jung-hyeon comes in, guns blazing. Literally. He's about to end it all. And Ah-hyeon? She doesn't back down. Oh no, this girl is a force of nature. She actually grabs the bullets. Like, what? That moment had me screaming at my screen. The sheer guts it takes to do that? Unbelievable. And then the fight scene? It's raw, it's desperate, and it feels real. There's no flashy choreography here, just survival instinct and pure adrenaline. And when Ah-hyeon finally manages to escape with the others, I swear, I felt like cheering. It's that rush of relief mixed with pride, like watching someone you root for win against impossible odds. But hold on, we're not done, because the plot thickens. They start digging into So-mi's adoptive father. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. He's not just some random guy. He's the freaking school principal. Yeah, the guy trusted with protecting kids. Turns out he's the predator at the top of the food chain. And I can't. It's sickening, but it's also so believable because predators often hide in plain sight. And that makes it scarier. Ah-hyeon decides to go undercover as a driver, and Ju-en, bless her brave little heart, pretends to be a little girl to bait this monster. And this whole sequence had me holding my breath. It's tense, it's risky, and you can feel the danger in every second. Because one wrong move? Game over. And then, oh my god, the betrayal. The moment So-mi realizes it wasn't her adoptive mom who sent her back, it was her dad. The same man who ruined her life. The same man who pretended to care. He's the one who returned her like she was broken, like she didn't matter. And watching that realization hit her, it shattered me. You can see the heartbreak written all over her face. That kind of betrayal, it cuts deeper than anything else. And I just wanted to reach through the screen and hug her. Tell her it's not her fault, because no kid should ever feel like they're disposable. But wait, the episode saves the biggest punch for last. Just when you think you can breathe, they drop this bombshell. A mysterious bag with Ah-hyeon's name on it. And suddenly you're like, hold up, what does this mean? Is Ah-hyeon also part of this twisted system? Was she also a so-called defective product? And if so, what does that mean for her? For the group? For everything they've been fighting for? It's the perfect cliffhanger because now my brain is spinning with questions. And I know I won't sleep until I get answers. So after that jaw-dropping reveal with the bag that has Ah-hyeon's name on it, my brain basically went into overdrive. I'm sitting there like, excuse me? What is happening right now? Because if this is what I think it is, everything we've believed about Ah-hyeon changes in an instant. Up until now, she's been the strong one, the leader, the protector, the one holding it all together when everything else is falling apart. And now, this hint that she might be connected to Sehui's system of returning kids like defective merchandise, that's huge. That's not just a plot twist. That's an earthquake. But let me rewind for a second because there's so much to unpack before we spiral into theories. Can we talk about the pacing of this episode? Like, honestly, the writers were on a mission to break us emotionally. It's trauma stacked on top of betrayal, stacked on top of action sequences, and then topped off with mystery. And somehow, it doesn't feel messy. It feels deliberate. Like every piece of this puzzle is meant to make us uncomfortable, angry, heartbroken, and still hungry for more. And it's working. Now, going back to So-mi for a moment, because I can't stop thinking about her storyline. That flashback in the beginning, it wasn't just there for shock value. It completely reframes who she is in the present. All those walls she puts up, the way she distances herself from people, it's not because she's cold, it's because everyone she's ever trusted turned out to be a monster. So when she learns it was her adoptive dad, not her mom, who returned her, that's another level of betrayal. That realization that the person you probably still had a sliver of hope for, the one you thought might have loved you even a little, was actually the one who discarded you like trash, that wrecked me. And the actress? Oh my god, give her an award right now. The way she delivered that heartbreak without screaming or throwing things, just that silent devastation in her eyes, that's talent. And while we're talking about betrayal, can we address how this show just keeps twisting the knife? Because every time you think these kids are finding solid ground, someone yanks the rug out from under them. First, their safe house blows up. Then they're being hunted like animals. And then this whole revelation about Somi's past just slams into us. It's relentless. And honestly, I kind of love it. Because life, especially for kids in systems like this, isn't neat or fair. It's messy and cruel. And this drama doesn't sugarcoat that reality. Let's talk about Ah-hyeon for a second. Because wow, this girl is fascinating. She's brave, she's resourceful, she's quick on her feet. That scene where she faced off with Jung-hyeon? Still not over it. When she snatched that bullet and basically said, "Not today, Satan?" Iconic. Absolute icon behavior. And what I love most is that it wasn't portrayed as some superhuman feat. You could see the fear in her eyes, the desperation in her movements. It wasn't clean, it wasn't glamorous, it was survival. And that's what makes it so good, because it feels real. And yet, now we have to question everything about her. Is she truly one of them? Or is there more to her connection with Sehue than we realize? The writers really said, "You like this character? Great. Now doubt her." And speaking of doubt, can we circle back to Tae-sik? Because his letter still has me conflicted. On the one hand, I want to believe him. I want to believe that he's genuinely trying to make amends, that his guilt is real, and that saving these kids is his redemption arc. But then, I think about all those names and recordings in his locker, all the times he could have blown the whistle and didn't. And I'm like, do you really deserve forgiveness? Or are you just trying to ease your conscience before it's too late? It's complicated. And I love that the show makes us wrestle with that complexity. Because in real life, redemption isn't neat. It's messy, and it doesn't always come with closure. Now, let's talk about that action sequence again, because I need to relive it. The way the attack was shot, the flames, the panic, the close-up of the kids' terrified faces, it was brutal. You could feel the chaos. And when Tae-sik got them to the boat, for a split second, I actually exhaled. Like, okay, they made it. They're safe. And then I remembered what show I'm watching. This is the Defects. Safety is an illusion here. And sure enough, the tension didn't let up. Because even as they're on that boat, you can feel it. The paranoia. The fear that someone's gonna show up, that this nightmare isn't over. And spoiler alert, it's not. Then we get to that whole undercover operation with Ah-hyeon and Ju-won. And let me just say, Ju-won deserves so much credit. That kid is brave. I mean, pretending to be bait, sitting across from a man who could literally destroy her life in an instant, that takes guts. And the way she played it? She didn't overdo it. She wasn't cartoonishly scared or unrealistically calm. She was believable. And that made the whole scene 10 times scarier. Because you know what's at stake. One slip up, and it's game over. And when that principal started talking, when his mask started to crack, and you saw the predator lurking underneath, I wanted to throw my screen across the room. Because predators in positions of power, that's the real horror story. Monsters in human skin. And the show nailed that. And then, that final twist. The bag with Ah-hyeon's name. Let me just paint the picture. We've gone through emotional carnage, multiple near-death experiences, betrayals, and now the writers look us dead in the eye and say, here's one more punch to the gut. And it works. Because the implications are huge. If Ah-hyeon is tied to this system, if she was once a defective product, like the others, that means her entire mission isn't just about saving these kids. It's personal. Maybe that's why she fights so hard. Maybe that's why she takes risks no one else would. And if that's true, oh man, the emotional fallout is going to be insane. Imagine the trust issues, the self-loathing, the desperation to break the cycle. I can already feel episode 3 breaking my heart. Also, can we just take a second to appreciate how this show handles symbolism? Because that bag? It's not just a bag. It's a reminder that no matter how far you run, the past has claws. It drags you back. It forces you to face what you've been avoiding. And for Ah-hyeon, this isn't just a plot twist, it's a reckoning. So yeah, episode 2 didn't just raise the stakes, it launched them into the stratosphere. We went from learning about Somi's trauma, to questioning Tae-sik's morality, to fearing for everyone's lives, and now we're left wondering who Ah-hyeon really is. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm obsessed. This show isn't afraid to go dark, it isn't afraid to make you uncomfortable, and that's what makes it so compelling. Because it's not just entertainment. It's a mirror to some of the ugliest truths in our world, the commodification of children, the abuse of power, the scars of trauma, and it wraps all of that in a story that's equal parts heartbreaking and thrilling. Episode 2? Solid 10 out of 10. Brutal, emotional, unpredictable, and that cliffhanger? Absolute perfection. I don't know how I'm supposed to wait for the next episode. Honestly, I might just rewatch this one and torture myself all over again because the details, the acting, the writing, everything about this episode screams quality. Now let me leave you with this question. If Ah-hyeon really is a former defect, what does that mean for her future? For the group? For everything they're fighting against? Because if the enemy is tied to her past, then this isn't just survival anymore. It's personal. And I have a feeling things are about to get even uglier from here.